couple of seconds then before the pre-start begins, and we'll get our way in the in our start sequence. Close window. Alrighty, down go the gates and off we are. It looks like a couple extra little bikes coming into the field here tonight. We've got a Honda, Kawasaki and a Yamaha. Just to try and spice up the KTM field. Neon then takes the whole shot and the racing lead here on the privateer KTM as we begin the night. Billy then looks like he's settling in for the P2 spot just for now. In fact, he's managed to find his way into P1 there as Neon slides his way back into that top spot. Victor hot on his heels as well here, looking to try and snatch it away from Neon here, but Neon will go on to secure that racing lead for now. Victor then in P2, Cloud rounding off that podium for the moment. We'll see how Davies gets on here on the 651 Motorsports Yamaha. Off to a very, very nice little start here, trying to squeeze his way in. I need to turn this music down a little bit, it's a bit loud. My goodness me. Alright, we are back. Victor versus Davies then in the battle for P2. Davies with a huge case there on the Yami. Recovers nicely though and stays right onto the back of this KTM. Very, very tasty battle here in the fight for P2. We can see Neon there starting to open up a little bit of a gap, just around 1.1 seconds there between himself and the P2 bike there from Victor. So Victor certainly, oh dear, looking to try and do better things than that hopefully here tonight. A big crash there, sees him losing a good few positions. Cloud then finding his way up and into P3 I believe as Davies now sails into P2. And Dan on the Rev Graphics KTM trying to close his way in here soon. And see if he can squeeze up a little extra couple of positions here. We saw the other bike go down there. We've got Cloud now just in front. Let's try and close our way through. Down then, making a move up and through into I believe P2 now. Having seen Davies go down. Davies all the way down to P10 there on that timing gate. An absolutely disastrous crash then for the Yamaha. Certainly not where he wants to find himself. Cloud though, right onto the back of down here, trying to re-secure that P2 position. It's going to be a tight little battle between these guys, I'm sure. We've also got Billy versus Victor here going on in the fight for P4 just behind. And Lipasek certainly not far out of the running there on the AEO KTM just behind. Looking to try and cause some nice little battles. We'll see if it goes nicely for him. Lipo getting that big old triple down the inside of Billy. A lovely pass for himself then. We're going to check back up a little further forward. Looks like Dan still holds the position just in front of Cloud here. So P2 and 3 locked off. Victor coming in for that podium position though. Is he going to get it around the outside here on that KTM? It looks like he will squeeze it. Oh, just about squeezes his way past Cloud there. Very tight little battle between those guys, but fantastic stuff for Victor up and into the P3 position then. And now looking down onto the back of Dan, he's got to try and close down to P2. We'll see if that's an option for us here soon. For now, we've got, I believe that's Ree here, just closing in to the back of that pack at the front of the field here. We've got Chapstick not too far behind here on the KTM as well. Looking to try and make some moves. Billy makes his way past Cloud then on the Vision MX KTM. Lovely stuff for himself. Cloud then having fallen way down off the podium now, all the way down to P6, I believe. Lipasek holding nice and steady as we have come to sort of assume from him now. Victor's holding on steady as well here, keeping that very, very firm P3 position. Dan though holding him off for now. Neon's really started to get the gas cooking now. 6.6 seconds to the rest of the field. Absolutely storming here tonight on the KTM. Is this main? No, this is the Heat 1 for 250. So Heat 2 will also be running in the background at the same time. And we'll be moving over to LCQ next after this race in the next 3 minutes or so. Yeah, it's going to be a nice little time. Lucid Air allowing Neon to pass unhindered. Down here, going to be passing that lap down bike here very shortly. And Victor's certainly starting to close that gap up a little bit. I'd like to see that time come down towards the end of the moto. Fingers crossed we see that. Lipo now in P4 with a bit of open air and going to be allowed to run some decent times here as he closes in onto that podium position here soon. Billy's certainly not far off as well here. Cloud right onto the back of Billy, trying to gain that position back here, past that Vision MX bike. There you go, KTM then on the hunt. Neon's gapping, he really is, bro. Really is. 8.4 seconds at the previous timing gate there. Cloud has found a punishable mistake here. Billy runs himself a little deep there and up into the tough blocks, I assume, on the outside of the corner. Cloud then finds his way down and through, up into whatever position we're in. I'm in a P5, there you go. Big brain. MX boy, how are we getting on, my man? Welcome in, welcome in. Deary me. Lipasek then holds on pretty nicely. I believe he's chilling P4 currently. Victor's lost a fair bit of time here to Dan. Dan then on the Rev Graphics KTM, making up some good time here. We'll have a little hover with Neon. Check in with these lap times real quick for the heats. We've got 46.167 here for the racing leader Neon. A 48.3 for Dan. A 48.1 here for Victor. Lipo's running 49.3s. Cloud with a 52. Billy with a 50. 48 here for Davis. So Neon is just absolutely flying here tonight. My goodness me. I think closest person near him is Victor, right? With a 48.1. Wild. He's 2 seconds faster. You can see that time difference here as he catches up with this blue flag bike. Deary me, you told Neon not to do it, me, Celesty. Fingers crossed he can hold it together, eh? Fingers crossed. Anyways, looks like Dan's got a lot of work cut out for him if he wants to try and gain that P1 position for now, then mostly just defending that P2 spot from Victor here. Victor on the MXB Mods Black Label KTM trying to squeeze his way onto the battlefield here. We've got Lipo certainly not too far away as well here. It's definitely closing into this podium battle, but there is only 30 seconds on the clock, and then a couple of laps, so certainly not too long to try and recover this position here. See if he can get himself up and onto that podium, but it is the top 9, I believe, moving their way on through from the heat events tonight, up and into that main event. So we shall see. The rest, of course, having to go through the LCQ a little while later. That's why he's backlisted for Rams. So where Cloud qualified for West. He did. Here he is. He's in. Boom. Yeah, he's doing very, very nice lap times indeed. That's what we like to see. Cloud then holding on to a decent position here, looking to try and get some more though if he can. Dan currently still fending off Victor. It's the last lap now that Neon takes us onto. So there's certainly not long left in the race if Victor wants to make any meaningful moves. Region lock and mains though, innit? Nah, region lock is any kind of racing. If you get into the heats, then that counts as you getting into some kind of racing. Because you still have to like qualify to get into those, you know? I believe, anyway. Wait, I was racing east? Yeah, I have no idea. Mention it in ARL, Marshall, and I'm sure someone will have a look and do a little bit of inquiring. Regardless, though, looks like Neon's having a nice little time. But yeah, it's strange because there should be a blacklist from everyone that's qualified for things. So maybe it is mains. Maybe it is mains, and I'm just wrong. It could easily be that's the case, you know. Here we are then, Neon across the line for main, or not main, the Heat Moto 1. There you go, that'll do. Down then across the line for P2. We got Victor coming across the line for P3. Lipo Sec, certainly not too far behind, but nowhere near close enough to try and make a move. Yeah, shouldn't be able to, Aiden, so we'll have to do a little bit of an investigation. But I'm sure that'll get worked out before too long, before the next race. Regardless, anyways, it looks like everyone's coming in pretty here. 4 KTMs lock out the top row, and then we've got Davis here in P5, Cloud there for P6, Bad Egg for P7, Billy for P8, P9 went to Ivan, Chapstick for P10, Ree picked up P11 there, Boom for P12, Louis for P13. So it looks like Chapstick then, the first one to not make the cut here into that main event, is going to have to try again in the LCQ very shortly. Very nice racing across the board though. Again, we're going to look at those lap times, see just how far away that is. A 46.167 on a 250 KTM versus the 48.134 from Victor that got the P2 position there. These gates seem to go down forever. There we go. Down they go, and off we are then for the beginning of tonight's LCQ here for EU 250 here at Detroit. It looks like Ree's getting a fantastic little bit of rhythm there on the Team D and Motorsports Cowie, but unfortunately does collide with the current racing leader Chapstick, allowing Cacao? We're going to do Cacao. That makes sense. Having a nice time. Cacao then on the DT crew bike is having a very nice time here for the Husqvarna boys. So is Baboom, not too far behind. We've got MX Morrow on the Motorworks KTM having a bit of an issue there, allowing the Husky to find their way through. Lucy then up and into P3 as well, but getting knocked off the track somehow. Absolutely no idea what happened there, but not to worry. So it looks like we have... Who have we even got leading at this point? We've got Cacao leading, Baboom in P2. And, sorry, those names are cracking me up. Go Baboom. Louis makes his way through the carnage there. Baboom on the DT crew bike having a nice little time. Trying to close his way through. We've got, I believe, is a Chapstick just absolutely storming through for P2. Very nice stuff indeed. Unfortunately, done a double front flip strat and the Paboso landing. Did he stay up? I don't think he stayed up. He had a rough time there. Certainly not the optimal line there. Anyways, a little tuner just ahead of Jones. Jones on the MXB Mods Honda then trying to close his way into the back of this privateer KTM. As a glance down the inside, but takes the outside line to try and maintain good speed through these whoops here on the 250. It's a reasonably long section of whoops there. It's pretty difficult to carry like good speed through there, so obviously you've got to get your line right, get good momentum through the corner. And we'll have a good what on earth is that a good old-fashioned Bavoso time. But anyways, let's go then onto the back of Badoom, Baboom. My goodness me, these names. The DT Crew Husqvarna, though, stays ahead of the Privateer KTM he overtook just moments ago. Hopefully he can keep that position for now. A little bit of a case there over the triple for both bikes. Little Tuna makes a decent pace, though, as we come through, round towards that whole shot turn once again. A little tyre tap on the table there. Keeps that triple nicely, though. Sets himself very nicely behind, as does the DT Crew Husqvarna. My goodness me, I don't know why I'm struggling to talk so much. We're going to have a quick little drink and pray that fixes it. Boom then still leads the main pack here, currently holding on to that P2 position on the Husqvarna. He's having a very nice time indeed. Both the DT Crew bikes look like they might be making their way up and through into that main event here tonight. Little Tuna certainly not far behind as well. Still on the Privateer KTM. MXB Mods Honda certainly creeping its way up through the field. They're going through the field. Alright, chapstick onto the back of Jones. We've got Reese certainly not far behind on the Tingdian Motorsports Kawasaki. I like a little bit of variety in the field. That's what we like to see at the end of the day. Chapstick makes his way around the outside of the main line of the track there. I'm sure we're going to see some penalties picked up as a result of that. And that's going to affect some end of race stats, I'm sure. Baboom then on the DT Crew bike, slowly closing his way in here onto the back of that KTM. Once again, trying to squeeze his way back up into that podium position here. Is it going to be enough? Not quite just yet. Chapstick still hard on the defence there. Jones starting to break away from the KTM and starting to close back in onto the back of the Privateer KTM with Little Tuna just in front of him. Chapstick getting a phenomenal line through here though. Where did that speed come from? Him and Baboom both getting very, very, very optimal lines for those little 250s. You can see the gap that they caught up with Jones. I've just butchered that entire sentence, but Jones has a lot of pressure on the back of him now. Two very, very quick little bikes. KTM and Husqvarna certainly putting some pressure onto the back here. Around the outside, Little Tuna he goes though. No pressure for Jones. He goes around the outside, picks up the extra position. Now he has three bikes to stare at behind him. My cat is just ringing the bell as loud as he possibly can to annoy everyone in the chat. Jones kind of moving over there to try and block Chapstick. In the process, allows Little Tuna to find his way through. And Baboom, the DT Crew Honda Husqvarna then, making his way up and through into P3. Very nice stuff indeed for himself. It looks like we got a down bike there at the front of the field. That's Cacao, the racing leader, going to lose a fair bit of time there to P2, but not enough to worry about losing the position just yet. Little Tuna then going to be grateful to hear that news and slowly going to put some more pressure on here. Baboom on the DT Crew bike getting nice and scrubby behind there on the Husky. Very smooth riding indeed from both of these top three riders. Jones on the MXB Mods Racing Honda still trying to squeeze his way onto that podium. Currently in that safe zone. He should be moving his way up to the mains, but he obviously wants to try and get an extra position or two to try and secure that qualification. Sure, all done, brain. Gavin having a nice time. Little Tuna here defending from Baboom. My cat's being annoying as shit. Baboom then trying to close in onto the back of Little Tuna once again. I think my cat's just being a little shit because I keep saying Tuna. He keeps looking at me like, what? Where? Bless him. Anyways, Cacao then has lost a lot of his lead. It was 8.5 seconds down to just 2.5 now after those prior crashes that we saw a little earlier on off to the side of our screen. The DT Crew Husky though maintains a decent gap here to the rest of the field. Little Tuna slowly trying to close his way in. Baboom's certainly not far away here as well, but just a lap and a half left on the clock, and certainly not long left to go. Stream 250 MXB GVs because you're going to go for the top 10-5. Top 10 or top 5? Got to pick a thing, Tang. Which is it going to be? Top 10 or top 5? Cacao's lost so much time here. Tuna is right on his heels now for the final lap. Within a second, coming alongside and past on the Privateer KTM. A very, very nice line for himself up and into that racing lead for the first time tonight, and the prime time as well. Cacao then has to try and close his way in. 100 bits there for Mook, very much indeed. Alrighty then. Cacao trying to squeeze his way onto the back of Tuna here. It's going to be a tough little battle here for the next half a lap or so, but it looks like Little Tuna on the Privateer KTM should be bringing it home here for the LCQ. And looking very, very solid here as he comes on into that main event later tonight Fingers crossed the 2DT crew bike makes their way through and don't choke here towards the end. Ree looks like he's made his way through and onto that P4 spot here as Jones loses out and down into the P5 spot there on the MXB Mods Honda. So the Kawasaki may well be making his way through. A little tuner then across the line for P1, Baboon for P2, Cacao for P3. After leading pretty much the entire moto, it comes P3 on the podium there on that final lap, passed by 2 bikes. Just a little bit of a choke there for himself then. So Ree in P4. My cat is literally sitting on my keyboard. Thank you. Pain in the ass. So it's going to be Lil Tuna, Baboom, Cacao and Ree making their way through up and into the main event here tonight. Jones in P5, Chapstick for P6, MB for P7, we had Lucy for P8, Merrick's Mora for P9, Louis for P10, and apparently me, not starting. Professional. I also really like the way that the Amstrac turned out. I don't know if anyone's had a little go on it, but it's pretty fun. It is pretty fun. It feels like, you know, just as fun as the Pro version to run, but obviously without the ruts, and therefore a little bit less precision is required. I feel like it's going to produce some pretty sick racing for our amateur race. So hopefully we get some pretty cool stuff. Pretty cool stuff. Alright, down go the gates then, and off we are for the start of 250 main for EU 250 East. Here is the first main event for the East Coast. And hopefully we can get off to a good start. Oscar on the Illusion Racing Husqvarna gets off to a fantastic start here, leading the race by around a second already. We've got Victor, it looks like, just behind here, looking like he's going to begin to try and close in to that racing leader and potentially contend for that P1 spot here very shortly. Cloud in P3, we've got Neon for P4, Reaperdoc for P5, Valentin for P6, we've got Billy for P7, Hubert for P8, Baboom made his way all the way up into P9, Roosper for P10 currently, Little Tuner at P11. We're going to get back on up with the racing leaders because Victor is slowly losing a bit of time here to Oscar. Just half a second separates the two of them now as Neon gets through into P3 and finds his way past Cloud. Cloud then tries to get his way back past that privateer KTM, but Neon going for a huge line there. Almost got his way back and underneath Oscar, but Oscar cuts down onto an inside line to try and defend his position there, and rightfully so. Very good spatial awareness and very, very good racecraft from both of these boys here. Neon down the inside, goes for a bit of an aggressive move, but gets it done over the table, gets the triple as well afterwards. The Illusion Husky, though, is no newbie, I guess. That's not the word I'm looking for, though. But anyways, you know what we're saying. He's having a good time. He's very much still on Neon's heels, and the battle for P2 certainly is not over just yet. Oscar there losing a little bit of time through the whoops. It's going to be delayed for a little bit, so we'll check on with a couple of other guys real quick here. Billy seems to have opened up a decent gap here. Hubert is just ahead of Valentin. Valentin trying to make his way through the whoops. They're having a bit of time on the monster bike there. Roosper, as a result, closing in, trying to find a cheeky little position or two. We'll see if he can squeeze a cheeky position here. Cloud going around the inside of Roosper. What a move. Fantastic pass there. Saw a gap, found it, and took full advantage. Victor then makes his way past Neon and up into, I believe, P2 on the track. Or is it P1? It's P1, my goodness me. Neon up and into P1 it looks like. As he finds his way down the inside of Victor there. Tucks his way down the inside. Victor, though, gets a better rhythm section here. And looks like he should be chilling for this corner here. And back into the P1 spot we go. Neon then, it settles back down in for P2. Victor, though, what a defense there from the MXB Mods KTM. Knew exactly where he needed to place that bike. Got himself back up into that top spot before the lap was even over. Very nice stuff indeed. Very nice stuff indeed. Appreciate the follow there, my friends. How are we getting on? How are we getting on? Is it sounds? No, this is the Pro 250 mains. It was delayed a little bit from Friday night. We had some issues, but we're back today to actually run the main event. So this is currently the 250 main event that was supposed to run Friday, that everyone qualified for on Friday, and the race is running tonight. But anyways, we're chilling. Neon here, very much chilling as well here, right onto the back of Victor. These two guys are absolutely storming away from the field. We usually discuss the fact that when bikes are battling, they're typically running slower laps than their usual optimal lap time as a result of having to think about line changes, adjust their lines to try and account for the other bike that they're riding in close contention with, and all of that good stuff that comes with racing and battling. So it's just interesting that these guys can battle this hard and still break 12 seconds from P3. Absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Victor's having a very, very nice race himself here. Neon is certainly not far behind. Just a 2-second gap here after a couple of minor mistakes through that previous rhythm section, but I'm sure we'll see him close that gap up once again here tonight. And hopefully we get that happen sooner rather than later. Billy there has a bit of a cliff on the back of Valentin. Both bikes going down as a result then. It looks like Baited and Hubert make their way through then. The Motormark KTM trying to squeeze his way down the inside of the Osa one. Looks like Hubert might be able to get a little bit of a switchback cut down here, but it looks like Bates going to take the line for now. We'll see if he can hold on to it for the majority of the Moso, but it's going to be very, very tight contention between these guys, I'm sure, here in the battle for P3. We've also got Valentine, of course, not too far behind here. Finn on the system decal Honda, certainly closing his way into the field as well here to try and pick up one of these cheeky little podium positions. It's going to be a tight little battle though. Still 11 minutes on the clock, so plenty of time for things to shuffle around. Reaperdock here in the meantime, currently holding on for P8. Definitely having a nice little start to his moto. Hoping to try and get some good contention here tonight. And fingers crossed we can see him do less of that and more good overtakes. Neon then closing in once again and finds his way back past Victor and into that racing lead for the third time tonight. The privateer KTM then managed to close that gap up very, very nicely. Victor here trying to recover, get back up into that P1 spot. He got the whole shot here tonight. He's been leading for the majority of the race by a pretty comfortable margin, and a couple of mistakes has seen him being caught up with. And Neon, as a result, has punished those mistakes immediately and without hesitation. As a result, has opened that gap up pretty nicely there. Once again, 2 seconds between the two leading bikes. We'll have to check in with him shortly, but you can see Victor is doing nothing but trying his best to try and close this gap back up. We'll see how that develops a little bit later on. Looks like Finn here might be making his way down the inside of Hubert, and certainly does, up into, I believe, P4. Could be P5, though. I believe it is actually P4. No, he's done well there. Valentine's behind Hubert as well. So very nicely done there for Finn. He's found his way to P4 with 5 seconds to P3. We'll see if he can squeeze his way up and onto that podium here. We know Finn's got some very, very serious pace when it comes to riding on these little 250s. Speedy boy indeed, especially when it came to the motocross. It's interesting to see how that translates over here to Soupy. Jesse with the follow, let's go. Alrighty then, having a quick look at these lap times so far. In lap 6 we had Neon run at 47.2, Victor ran at 47.9, we had Baited with a 48.3, Finn with a 48.4 there. It's a little bit off the pace, just a tiny bit, of 50.5 there for Hubert. He's doing very well to hold up this far. It's good consistency all around. 49 flat here from Valentine. Doc's running a 49.8 as well, so certainly not out of contention in terms of pace. We shall see exactly how this stacks up towards the end of the night. A few hydrates come through, so we'll have a little bit of a slurpy derp. I'm not going to just chug my drink though, because I'm not a psycho. Dear me. Alrighty then, Neon, it's starting to come up with some blue flag bikes here. Find his way past a couple of the lap down boys. We've got Victor's lost a good couple more seconds here, down 4 seconds, potentially more here as we come over this timing gate. 11-second deficit now to the racing leader Neon on the privateer KTM. Someone's probably going to be snapping that boy up at some point in the season. Baited then on the Motormark KTM, certainly putting in a pretty decent performance as well here, holding on for P3. Finn hot on his heels though. That 5-second gap we were talking about like a minute ago, gone. Finn's down the inside, that's the position done, and the Honda finds his way through up onto the podium for the first time here tonight after climbing his way through countless amounts of traffic. Very, very nice move indeed. Baited, though, not happy to see the position go. He's wanting to find his way back onto that podium here, coming back straight with the contention. A little bit of an overjump as a result of pushing just a tiny bit too hard. But he's straight back on the heels of the system decal Honda. Alternating lines. Baited down the inside here. Finn's going to get the better drive through the whoops then as a result on the Honda once again. Holding on to that P3 position. Very, very solid racecraft overall from both of these riders here tonight. Finn was like 15th lap one. Yeah, he had a very, very rough start, but he's found his way all the way up to P3 with 7.5 minutes on the clock to go. He could be looking at closing in to Victor and Neon if he keeps up some pretty solid pace. That previous lap there from Finn was a 46.909. This man is currently the fastest man on the track during this main event, so we'll see if he can certainly close his way up to those racing leaders. He's got 19 seconds to go. Let's see if he can do anything about it. Baited, obviously. Not going to try and let him run away as much as he can here. He's going to obviously try and close in once again for that podium position, so I'm sure his race isn't over just yet, and we'll see some more interesting things happen from him a little later on. We've got Hubert here, certainly going to be trying to close his way in. He's got a 9-second gap though to Baited. Valentine and Billy here having a good little fight in the fight for P6, it looks like. Just a couple of seconds between these guys. The Mostra Husqvarna doing a very nice performance here so far. Hoping to try and stick himself in those berms. He nearly fell out of that outside rut there, but holds on regardless. Billy then takes advantage of that mistake, closes his way up just a little bit here on the Vision MX KTM. And looks like he might be able to get a cheeky little position here pretty shortly. Keep an eye on these timing gates at the front end of the field as well here. Make sure we're not missing any kind of action up there. But we should be doing alright. Funny time, Gam, funny time. Alright then, Looks like Valentine's managed to break away from Billy just that little bit. Neon gives a little bit of a point back up to the cameras here. In fact, no, a little point back to Reaperdoc, sorry. As he goes around for the lap here with 6 minutes on the clock. Doc down P11 here. Certainly not off to the race that he wanted. He had a pretty solid performance in the heat from what I hear. So hopefully he can squeeze up a couple extra cheeky positions a little later on. But it's going to be a very, very tough one to do. The gap's certainly opening up a fair bit now as a result of the just the length of these motos, honestly. Supercross can be very, very taxing on the endurance level of things. You really have to keep your brain in check and just and really you can't let your concentration slip once, otherwise it's just game over. Cloud has a little bit of a wash there with Dimitri and kills himself in the process. Not entirely sure what happened there. I think there was actually a bit of a sketchy pass for position, but Karma came and bit him back pretty much immediately. How did I come up with the name Cupcake Explode? Mr. Cupcake Explode? I was stoned and dropped a cupcake on the floor. It went everywhere. And I was like, yes, good. That's it. No, I was locked out of my Xbox account one day, and then that was that, really. I just, like I say, dropped a cupcake. It went everywhere. I was finding bits of it for like a week. So, cupcake grenade didn't fit. It didn't sound good enough, you know. I mean, you've got to take me to dinner first, Jesse, surely. Neon then holding on a very, very solid gap. 15 seconds to Victor here. He is absolutely getting that throttle twisted right around. 47.272 is his best lap. 48.245 on that previous one just gone by. Running very, very consistent times then with very little mistakes. Victor here, not making many mistakes, but the few that he is making is causing that gap to get wider and wider every time he goes down. Fingers crossed he can keep upright and on two wheels. Finn then begins closing in to the guys once again here. He's got 5 seconds to Victor and 20 seconds to the race leader. So he's actually lost a second to Neon. Neon's pulled away from Finn by that extra second, but Victor is slowly being reeled in by that system decal Honda, and we could be seeing a bit of contention for P2 here in the next couple of minutes or so. Going to be an interesting one to see indeed. Going to be an interesting one to see. Valentine down the inside of Hubert makes the move up and into P5 once again here for the Mostra Racing KTM. Husqvarna. I just say KTM naturally now because there's so many of them. Is that down? It looks like he must have lost a little bit of time there. He's lost roughly a second there to Victor. Not entirely sure what actually happened there. Anyways, he may have been caught up in a couple of these blue flag bikes. Suggest a poll, does Neon finish this or get lost and nervous? If I have a mod in the chat, they can do it. I unfortunately can't really waste my time doing the poll. I think he makes it. He's got a 17-second buffer cushion. He should be okay. There's 27 seconds to Finn there. Finn got really caught up in these lappers. He's still with them now. Around the outside, just desperately trying to get past these blue flag bikes. Of course, these blue flag boys are also fighting each other, so they don't really want to slow down too much, but they've also got to let him by due to the rules. So it's a very, very difficult situation everyone finds themselves in here at the minute. Finn's trying to find his way through with as much surgical precision as possible to try and not interfere with their battle, but also not lose as much time as he can. And unfortunately, he's struggling here to get past Dan. Jake Bay's lap times? We'll have a look. Is he putting a heater, is he? 48.325 here for the Motormark bike. We'll see how it comes up towards the end of the night. 49 on the timing tree there. Pretty consistent though overall in terms of lap times. Always nice to see. Always nice to see. But yeah, Neil with the 47.2. We have Finn with the 46.9 still. He's not managed to replicate it though. You can see that previous lap was a 56. Just absolutely brutal. He's running very, very consistently otherwise. So we shall see how that sort of develops towards the end of the night here. Neon though still maintains a 17-second gap here. Victor in P2, baited for P3. We've got Finn holding on for that P4 spot now after he's lost that podium. Hubert is going to be closing in pretty shortly here actually. He's certainly not far behind, and Finn can't afford to make too many more mistakes like that, where he could be losing out that P4 position and some very, very valuable points. Yeah, ideally Dan should be moving. You can see that he's not like The thing is, when he's taking the line that Finn needs, you can see he's moved right over to the right side of the whoops here. You know? I think he's making a decent enough effort to try and stay out of the way. He's staying predictable. The issue is he's also going fast, you know? And that is the reality of these pro races. You know, these guys are running within a couple seconds of each other in terms of lap times. Those passes, even a blue flag pass, is going to be relatively difficult unless it's basically given to you. So yeah, could he have done more to allow Finn to pass sooner? Definitely. Was he genuinely required to? I think he did what he was required to, you know? Check Dan's lap and do you, Paul? Have a look at Dan's lap. Dan's around 49.05.05. So he's a little bit off. Oh, he's having issues. Alright, he's having issues. I can't do the poll, Travis. I haven't got any mods in the chat. I don't know how I have 81 viewers and none of them are mods, but there you go. What a wacky world we live in, man. We can have 10 people in stream and have like 4 mods. Anyways. Victor's having a nice time here, slowly making some time up onto the back of Neon here. It's not going to be enough though, but he should be holding on to that P2 spot reasonably nicely here. Reaper you can see there, just getting lapped by the P2 bike, unfortunately. He's had a pretty solid performance here though. He's picked up that P10, which is still a very, very respectable finish in a pro race. It's always what we like to see. Neon's lapping up to 5th place right now. Pub lobby. Now we got some pretty fast freaking names in here tonight, guys, and so Neon's just putting in a very, very stellar performance. He is hauling ass. We know Finn's faster, but he's not been consistent enough to make it worth it. And here we come then, around the final half of the lap here tonight. Neon with a big old kiss of death handstander lander onto the back of Bad Egg, trying to find his way past one more lap down bike. Through this sand section we come for the last time and across the line for P1 here tonight in Detroit for EU 250. A very nice finish then for Neon. Victor will be coming in very, very shortly here for the P2 position, roughly 17 to 18 seconds behind our racing leader. So that's always going to be nice to see. You can see a couple of lap down bikes already having finished their laps here. Deary me. Victor then across the line for P2, baited on the Motormark KTM, coming through that sand section here for the final time tonight. Around we go on the Motormark bike and across the line for P3 on the podium once again. Finn then for P4 after having a few very, very crucial errors very late in the race. Super unfortunate to see, but very solid stuff across the board. So top 10 then we had Neon in P1, Victor for P2, Baited for P3, we had Finn for P4, Valentine for P5, Hubert for P6, Alipasek for P7, Billy for P8, Dimitri for P9, and then Reaperdoc rounding off that top 10 in the 10th spot on his KTM. Always nice to see. Alrighty then. We'll be alright. The gates are up, the engines are revved up, and we are ready to drop those down. And off we go then here for the restart for Heat 1 at 450. Down to the inside goes Ken's, and it looks like Adam Hertz and a couple other bikes there, Mariano involved too, going to be involved in a very, very heavy collision. So I believe it's Ken's then just leading just ahead of Cam. Cam's absolutely wiped Marshall straight off the planet. Not entirely sure what happened there, but we'll, I'm sure, review that a little later on. Marshall then trying to make his way back up through the field after that early crash. Kenzo leads on the Oblivion Racing Husqvarna, slowly going his way through the sand section there. He's definitely got to pick up the pace if he wants to try and defend this P1 spot. Nate Dad then currently for P2 and Steiner for P3. Steiner on that podium once again, off to a fantastic start here, which is what we like to see. A little bit of a case there just behind, and Queck, unfortunately, it gets collected up there on the Weenie Warriors KTM. What a team name. Fantastic stuff. Solberg on the Dill Pickle, Yamaha having a fantastic night time as he finds his way past a couple of down bikes there. And he squeezes his way up through that field. We shall have a look-see. A little hydrate from Smokey. We'll do that in a momento. Just make sure we haven't got any important things going on. Ken still leads. Nate down for P2. The Oblivion Husky then starting to open himself up a pretty decent near 2-second gap now. So he's going to be feeling pretty comfortable indeed. Let's go Solberg from Dillatrill. Let's see if he can pull it out of the bag here. Dorian for P3 currently on the Mostra Racing KTM. Trying to close his way into that P2 spot. It's going to be a tough little fight though here. Just 4.5 minutes remain. Probably then having a nice time here just ahead of Frankel at the BCP Husqvarna though. Certainly starting to close in with some reasonable pace here by the looks of it. We shall see. Probably gets a very, very nice landing there. Keeping it smooth, that's what we like to see. Ken's then, decent gap here, still holding that 2-second gap just ahead of Nate Dad, but Nate is certainly starting to close in, I believe, here on the Fusion Racing KTM. Whether he has enough time to actually close that gap right up and fight for position Not entirely sure. It looks like it's opened up through that previous sector of the track there. Brovi versus Dorian here in the fight for P3, I believe. Dorian will take that position gratefully. Slams it his way around the outside. Brovi then has to settle in for the P4 spot. Unfortunately, Nate Dad's going very, very slow through that section. Has lost his way all the way off the podium now, down to, I believe, P5 as a result of that. Certainly not what you want to be seeing this late in the race. Just 4 minutes on the clock now. What position is Linz? Linz is currently P18, unfortunately, on the FXR G Fuel KTM, so hoping to try and pick up the pace towards the end of the night, I'm sure. But we'll see. He's slicing his way past Drury here on the Blaze to Max Yamaha. Drury's gotten all sorts of wonky, but held on to it. That is some kind of miracle save. That's arguably probably one of the best saves of the season so far. No idea how he pulled that one out of the bag. Dorian then, on the Mostra Kutvet bike, is still having a very, very nice time in that P2 spot. We've got Nate Dad back up into the podium for P3. Frank Lake then on the BCP Husky, closing in onto the back of Nate Dad to try and squeeze his way up on that podium. It's going to be a tight little battle between these guys, I'm sure. Drew going crazy. He's having a tough time through that whoop section there, eh? Nate and Frankelek, the battle is on then between the Husqvarna and the KTM. Frankelek a little bit slower through the sand section there. The Fusion Racing KTM opens that gap up just a little bit there. So I think Frankelek is a little faster in that last sector of the track. We'll see if he can try and hold on to the good positions here. He goes for the big quad, pulls it out of the bag as well. Just about misses that central rut, so he's going to lose a little bit of time, but does ultimately close that gap back up just a little bit to the KTM in front. A little bit of a seat bounce as we go over the tyre tap jump there. Staying nice and smooth indeed. Nate's gotten a little bit wonky, but saves it. What a save as well. Absolutely greased that triple. My goodness me, no idea how they pull it out of the bag like that. That is the difference between the pros and the rest of us. Dorian Marilyn having a very, very nice time himself. Holding off that P2 spot still. Nate Dad still on that podium position in P3 for the Fusion Racing team. And Frank Lick still staring down the back of that exhaust, trying to squeeze his way up there here tonight. We'll see if he can pull some magic out of the bag here tonight. Steiner for P5, I believe, sorry. Probably there, finds himself in a bit of open air. We've got Tom here, just ahead of Adam Ertz. I believe Tom's a lap down bike, so should be giving way to the Ace Moto one here pretty shortly. Fingers crossed, eh? Oh, no, he's not. He's actually finding position with Adam. Sorry, my bad. He's P7 versus P8 at the moment. We shall have a little peeky-rooney, see what's going on here with these guys. How do you race for RDC Racing Team? Oh, now you race for RDC Racing Team. Hell yeah. Congratulations indeed. Adam Ertz then stays down the inside of Tom, will secure the position at least for now, up into that P7 spot then for the Ace Moto KTM. And we'll see if Tom can try and do some defensive work in a little while. Just have a quick scan back through the leaders. It looks like Dorian and Nate Dad have had a huge collision there just ahead of the finish jump. And it's now the battle is on for P2. Dorian slots himself right back into that position as soon as possible. Nate Dad is back to staring at the back of him and trying to find an opportunity to squeeze on by that big orange KTM. Dorian then not going to try and show him any opportunities, provided he can avoid doing so. Frank Lake there, unfortunately losing a position to both of these guys in the process. Dorian then making light work, holding on to that P2 spot. Nate unfortunately has gone down. Frank Lake then will find his way through, I believe, up into the P2 spot. P3 spot. Then we've got Steiner for P4, Nate for P5, I believe now. So just trying to catch things up back in the head, you know. There are probably the forest people around the bubble. Can we check it out, please? What's the bubble? I don't know what you mean by the bubble, my guy. Around here. Around the cutoff is what you mean. Gotcha. Anyway, Linz then, speaking of the cutoff zone, is currently in that spot. He's in P9, trying to find his way past Tom. Will do so as well. Past we go then, I believe. He may actually have made P7 there. We'll have to check in on where Cam is real quick. I believe Cam's just up in front. Yes, he is. So he is P8 then. Cam for P7, I believe. Holding on pretty nicely indeed. We'll see how Tom's getting on. He's slowly finding his way through. Solberg on the dill pickled Yamaha, making his way back up towards that position. He's a little bit out of touch just now, but we shall see how he gets on. Adam Ertz then onto the back of Cam, the MXB Mods KTM on the defence now versus the Ace Moto bike. Adam looking to try and squeeze his way down. Has a little bit of an issue on the front wheel there and does take a crash as a result. Sorry, Linz then will sail his way back through past the Ace Moto KTM. Around the outside line we go. Adam Ertz then has had a bit of a fall from grace here in this first heat. Certainly not exactly where he wants to be, but I believe currently in that safe spot. I believe Tom's currently in the danger zone, currently P9. So we'll see how that closes up. Check back in. Steiner's had a huge crash there. Frank Lake then will take full advantage and find his way up and into that P3 spot once again. Nate Dad doesn't quite manage to find his way back past Steiner, though. Steiner's managed to recover reasonably nicely there on the Ace Moto KTM. And we'll keep an eye on him for the moment. Looks like Ken's then has taken the lead here at the end of the first heat. We've got Dorian coming in for P8, I believe, here very, very shortly. Across the line then, 7.6 seconds behind our current racing leader. So Ken's definitely one to watch out for a little later on tonight. Frankelek then on the BCP bike will take the podium for P3. Steiner, the first bike off the podium in that P4 spot. Cam is going to take the inside and Nate Dad and secure P6, in fact, as he looks like he has roughly 2 seconds worth of penalties there just ahead of the other KTM. Lindsay will come across the line P7, Adamers for P8. JB will come for P9 and the last man to make it into the main event, and then Tom will be the first guy into the LCQs here tonight. Certainly not where he wanted to find himself. He was safe for the majority of the race, has climbed his way back up to where he needed to be after a bit of a moment, and unfortunately he's had a bit of a moment. I'm showing again the last lap. I'm trying to keep an eye on the interesting incidents and races itself, man. I'm not trying to look at just open gaps with no racing going on, you know? So I apologise if that means that sometimes we don't look at the racing leader, but if the racing leader's like 8 seconds ahead of everyone else, then what's the point, you know? On the gates then for the 450 main event here tonight at Detroit, round 5 here for the 2024 ARL SX Championship. Down the inside then, a big line there for Steiner, he pulls out the whole shot, but TJ, that's Tyler J on the MXB Mods KTM, having a fantastic start for himself there, pulling out that lead very early on. Cam there for the P2 spot. We got Ken's in P3, sorry. Don't forget that's the winner of the of that Heat 1, which is very interesting to see. So hopefully he can keep up some good consistency in this main event here tonight, over the slightly longer event here. 20 minutes on the clock now tonight. So we'll see if he can pull it out of the bag here. Tyler J then leads the moto just ahead of Ken's in the P2 spot. Then we have Steiner for P3, Dill Pickle for P4, and then it looks like Cam's been pushed down to P6 just behind Jake here. Jake on the Phil's racing bike, just trying to squeeze his way through. Very nice looking KTM as always. Trying to see if we have Cam's bike. I don't even know if that's the stock proposal one or not. So, anyways, it may well be. It can't be. It's not. It's his red plate. Anyways, he's had a huge crash there. Not good at all. Linz though with a huge quad there just behind Hakon, trying to find his way through here onto the back of Dill Pickle, trying to find his way through the inside now. Gets it past, but unfortunately has a bit of a collision. A huge crash then for the FXR KTM. It's certainly not what we want to be seeing. His rival Cam moving up through the field a little bit here. We got Owen onto the back of the KTM just up in front. I believe that's JB on the Ace Moto team. See if he can squeeze a little bit of a battle here between these guys here shortly. Adam Ertz down the inside of Aiden just quickly, trying to squeeze his way through the positions here, up and into P9, I believe. Very nicely done for himself. We're going to move up through the field a little bit, have a look at the rest of the pack. TJ leads, Hakon for P2. We got Cam for P3 now and Dill Pickle for P4, I believe. Very tight stuff. It looks like Steiner must have had a pretty big crash there then on the Ace Moto KTM. Not what you want to see at all. Dill Pickle closing his way back in onto the back of Cam now in the battle for P3. Cam here on the KTM, currently in the defensive position. JB trying to seek his way into the back of the field here. It's going to be an interesting battle as this develops. JB finds his way down the inside of Dill Pickle then through that rhythm section and into that first corner. Through the whoops we go. Looking nice and stable for both bikes. Dill Pickle carrying slightly more speed though and closing that gap right back up here now. Potentially going to see an interesting little battle develop between these guys here pretty soon. Hakon actually closing in onto the back of Tyler J, and the potential race lead changing hands here potentially quite soon. Count how many times I say potentially this stream, my goodness me. Anyways, Hakon having a very, very nice time trying to put in the work here for the P2 spot. Trying to close that gap up for P1 here. Tyler J just losing a little bit of time there through that rhythm section, and we'll see Hakon on the Ace Moto KTM take full advantage of that quad line. Trying to find his way onto the back of him now. Nicholas with the follow, thank you very much. Hakon with a huge wheelie through the first section of the whoops there. Very, very smooth here through the sand. Runs it wide a little bit, but holds on to good momentum there is what I'm trying to say. Kind of lost for words. Anyway, Cam, hold on for the P3 spot. He's got himself a little bit of breathing room here just ahead of JB, who's also got a bit of room between himself and Dill Pickle, but nowhere near as much. Dill Pickle then certainly going to be looking to try and close that gap up as soon as possible. Adam Ertz versus Steiner, though, a battle to watch at the moment here in the fight for P6 as Adam Ertz makes his way around the outside line here on the KTM, trying to solidify that position and does so. Very nice stuff indeed for the Ace Moto bike, getting his way past his teammate. Steiner then trying to go back on defence, but not trying to take his teammate out. So a nice bit of respectful riding then between the two of them. We'll see if we can try and squeeze a few little positions back past his teammate here. Dill Pickle's had a huge crash there on the MXB Moz bike. It's super unfortunate to see there. We'll see if we can try and recover towards the end of the moto. Still 16 minutes on the clock, don't forget. Plenty of time to go. And certainly anyone's guess as to who's going to be in that top spot at the end of the moto. What up, vibing? How are we getting on? Dear me, it's been a busy start to the moto then. Let's have a little flick through the field, shall we? JB currently holding on for that P4 spot. Trying to find some little battles a little bit further down. See what's going on here. We got Dorian versus Nate Dad. Super tight stuff as the Fusion Racing KTM makes his way past the Mostra bike and onto the back of the BCP Husqvarna just up in front there. That's Frankelek there onto the back of Premium as well. So a four-way battle actually going on between these guys. Dorian trying to clap back here to Nate. Nate, though, moving across for that block pass. Gets it done onto the outside line of that next corner and maintains his position for now. Dorian, though, super scrubby there, trying to close that gap back up here. We potentially have a pretty spicy little battle on our hands here as Dorian finds his way down the inside line. Is he going to get the optimal line through this rhythm, though? No, he's not, as Nate Dad comes sailing his way through, but gets a little bit over jumpy. Sacrifices a bit of time, so it's side by side then, back through this hairpin, onto and over the table for each bike there, each choosing a different line. Dorian coming off just a little bit better there after Nate has a bit of a case. Ken's on the Oblivion Racing KTM. Husqvarna trying to find his way up through to the back of the field. I will be doing the HSM race, Trevor, provided the timings work out, basically. But if not, then I'm sure other people will be doing their POV. Anyways, Ken's here onto the back of Dorian in the battle for P10, I believe. We're going to have a quick battle with these guys for the moment before we check on back with the leading few here. Hakon's still a couple of seconds off the leader. Tyler J there. We've got Ken's then onto the back of Dorian, trying to find a cheeky little position here for the Oblivion Husqvarna. Gets a very, very smooth entry to this rhythm. Gets his way past with absolutely no hesitation at all. Nate Dad taking advantage there and punishing the mistake of Dorian on the KTM. Tries to find his way back through. Oh, it's a little bit of a collision between the two of them. Dorian comes off worse. Nate Dad and Premium then side by side as we go through that next section of the track. We'll see who comes out on top between these guys. It looks like it's going to be Nate down into the inside line there on the Fusion KTM. Very nice start indeed. It's already started. I mean, the heat races will have already started, but the main event shouldn't have started by now, Trevor, I don't think. And if it has, then it is what it is. But it should be the heats at the minute for HSM, I believe. Nate then doing very, very nicely here as we try and squeeze our way away from Premium here, try and open up a little bit of a gap. We've got Hakon versus Cam. Cam's actually found his way through and up into that P2 position on the track. Looks like he might be harbouring a nasty little 1 second penalty there and suffering with the positional loss for now, at least on that timing tree. Hakon then trying to close his way up to that P2 bike. Cam putting in a solid bit of work here so far, though. Yeah, very nice, very smooth. We've got Hakon here just left scrambling at his heels. Here's Moto KTM trying to put in as much smooth riding as possible, trying to scrub off as much height off those jumps as he can. We'll see if he can try and take full advantage of that here shortly. Getting some nice big lines. The gap between them less than half a second here. We've got a motorbike bike just in front. That's Jesse Hurling's a lap down bike that thankfully has moved out of the way. Owen Moore also reflecting the the blue flag. Always nice to see. Unfortunately, Hakon does go down on the P3 bike there, so Jezre's going to try and unlap himself just quickly. Always nice to see, but JB can't quite get close enough to punish that mistake just yet, although that gap is closed right down now as JB tries to close his way in and sees the podium position here. We'll see if he can pull that one off in a short while, I'm sure. Have a little drink-a-rooney. Hakon then now getting caught up behind the blue flag bike just in front of him. Going to try and get through the inside, gets it through. Lovely stuff. Wheelie in them first section of whoops. Absolutely storming through that section as well. Took the inside line and still maintained more speed than the lap down bike. Very impressive stuff. JB here trying to make his way past the blue flag as well. Unfortunately, it's a bit of an issue. Case is the finish jump there and it's going to open that gap right up. Tyler J then off to a very, very nice night so far. He's got a good 5 second gap there to Cam in the P2 slot. P2 spot, whatever you want it to be called. Very, very nice stuff. Opened up a pretty hefty gap nice and early on and has maintained it for now. Cam, though, certainly starting to close that gap up, and we will be seeing a potential fight for the lead here in the next few minutes, I'm sure. Have a little look at lap time, shall we see how everyone's getting on. Cam currently run his best lap of a 45.953. We've got Tyler J with a 45.679, so super close between those guys. We've got Hakon slightly faster than both here with a 45.314 on the second lap of the race, but he's been a little bit more inconsistent towards the end here. So JB's running a 46.9, so a little bit off from that podium pace of 47.1 there from Steiner. But pretty nice stuff. We've got some very speedy guys in this field. Some very speedy guys indeed. How's Lindsay getting on? Lindsay running a 46.863. He's off to a little bit of a poor moto so far, currently down in the I believe 15th position now after he found his way past Cyril. May have actually got P13 in mind. I'm not entirely sure what time entry is saying. But we shall see if he can potentially find his way moving up through that field towards the end of the moto. Like we said, in that heat, he kind of struggled there at the start, pulled up a lot of places though towards the end, so when he settles into his pace, he's certainly got some really good speed here, but we shall see if he can try and get himself out of his own head. I think that's the main thing here, especially when you get off to a bad start in MX bikes. It's incredibly difficult to just let it go and get back on into your natural rhythm. So we'll see. You can see he's making light work of closing onto the back of Aiden and Premium here, but he's certainly going to have a little bit of a fight on his hands when he does get to them. We shall see Tyler J here, though, coming super close. Super close. And in fact, is he lapping Linz or is... yeah, I'm pretty sure he's lapping these guys. There you go, Linz staying nice and high and out the way there for the blue flag. Tyler J makes his way through. I believe Tyler J didn't just have an absolutely massive disaster, but who knows, I may be wrong. I may be wrong, but he's having a very nice night himself indeed. Dorian Marriott there just ahead of Linz as well, trying to close his way past Premium 12. It's going to be a little bit of a squeeze here for TJ as he finds his way over the quad, down to the outside line, locks off past the blue flag bikes. Linz will take the advantage and squeeze his way past Dorian and come alongside with Premium here. Looking for a nice little potential battle between these guys here. Linz then does manage to seize that position up and into P, I believe P12. He may be a little bit higher. We shall see. It's currently P12 on that timing tree though, so I think that's about right. Probably. Professional commentary. Anyways, Tyler J then a fantastic race here so far. 6.8 seconds. Always what we like to see. Hakon currently in the P2 spot. Unfortunately, he's washed his bike and collected Premium and nearly collected Cam. In fact, Cam does get collected there. Thankfully, it doesn't go down. Lose a lot of positions there in the process, though. A lot of bikes taking their full advantage and punishing that mistake as quickly as they can here. And I believe JB are now in the P3 spot. Cam now in P2. Obviously, Cam's still harbouring that nasty 1 second penalty that we saw him collect earlier on in the moto. They're trying to use the blue flag. 100%. Got to make it work. But no. Anyways, the battle for P2 then between JB and Cam and the MXB Mods KTM currently on the defence here versus the Ace Motobike just behind. Trying to squeeze their way through the two KTMs. A proper little scrap here. Military UAV, appreciate the follow, man. Hopefully you're having a nice little night for yourself. We're having some nice racing here. Starting to spread out between the super important gaps, but P2 and 3 here still very, very close between these guys. Frankelek there, not off to the best of races here so far. He had a much better heat than he has main moto, unfortunately, there on the BCP Husqvarna. Hopefully he can pick things up towards the end of the season. You can see that a road really starting to kick in there with some of these bowl jumps, or bowl turns rather. Really sort of scooping the bikes through these sections here. Keeping it steady, keeping it smooth. That's what we like to see. JB, though, hot on his heels on the Ace Motobike. Unfortunately, had a little bit of a case there over that triple. So had to double it down instead. But Camlin will take on that P2 spot. We got Hakon here closing in for the podium position as well here on the Ace Motobike, trying to squeeze his way down the inside of his teammate. Outdrives him from the inside line. Absolutely phenomenal stuff there from Hakon. Up and into P3 he goes as JB can do nothing but watch him go by. Now he's gone down! What? How did he go down? That is a very, very unfortunate situation there for Hakon as he found his way past his teammate, only to be immediately re-overtaken. Doesn't want to get collected too much here by Premium and Frankelek just in front of him. Could cause him a little bit of a time loss situation here. Hopefully the Ace Moto KTM can find his way through without too many worries, and Frankelek keeps tight to the inside. Always nice to see. I think there may have been a bit of a network lag moment there, and I think on the Husqvarna screen, I believe Hakon may have clipped him. But at least on our end, and obviously on Hakon's end too, doesn't seem to be the case. Cam then storming through. Open that gap up very, very nicely between himself and the Ace Moto KTM behind. Hakon fighting his way through that sand. You can see that road really starting to come into play now towards the end of this main. Look at this corner especially. Very, very rough around that outside line. The inside line is going to give you a lot of support, a lot less of a bumpy ride through that section. And as we saw earlier on, Hakon can still get a fantastic drive no matter what line he takes through that whoop section. Linz versus Tyler J then. Seems to be a little bit of a thing going on here. Linz, of course, on the blue flag bike, unfortunately. But definitely catching back up with the racing leader, showing he certainly can hold the pace. Just got off to a bad start in his moto, and hopefully he tries to pick up the consistency towards the rest of the season. He's been doing pretty well overall, but certainly not shining like we saw him in previous seasons. Tyler J, though, putting in a very, very happy performance here. He's in the mix with some big names and actually coming around to lap most of them. Very interesting to see. It just shows how stacked this 450 moto really is. How competitive it genuinely can be. Big crash there for one of the bikes in the back of the field. Not sure who that was. Not sure who it was. It may have been Rom, it may have been Linz. Not 100% certain. Breezy's had a bit of a moment here as he tries to rejoin safely. Just about does so. It was a very hairy moment though. Cam's still holding on for that P2 spot then on the number 1 bike. What have I done? I've done something. I don't know. Anyways, I pressed the button and I didn't mean to. Then crash on the quad. That's what it was. Breezy then rejoining once again. Looks like he's having a little bit of trouble here with the track towards the end of the moto. See if he can try and keep himself in the rhythm here. Tyler J onto the back of Brovy now, trying to find his way past yet another blue flag bike. Very nice stuff. Very nice stuff indeed. Hakon versus JB is actually going to be the battle we watch here for a moment as he tries to close in onto the back of his teammate once again here in the fight for the podium. JB's made a mistake, and that's a huge opportunity for Hakon. Makes his way through, seizes the opportunity, and thank you very much. That position is mine, he says. JB trying to close in into the back here, but unfortunately takes the slightly slower line there on the table rather than over it. Gets a much, much better drive through the whoops than his teammate, though, on this occasion. Down the inside on the KTM, he tries to go, but unfortunately that sand just doesn't let him do it. Doesn't let him get that little switcheroo underneath him. And the battle still commences. JB, though, a huge moment! Off and over the outside of the berm. Certainly not what you want to be doing at this stage in the moto. 4 minutes on the clock nearly. And plenty of racing to go still. So we'll see if he can try and recover from that. Catch back up to his teammate once again. But it's going to be very, 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 very frustrating at this point. Diversity in bikes is amazing. You know, it happens. It happens. You know, sometimes there's the best bike, and it'll always kind of happen when you've got bikes that aren't like 100% homologated equal. You know, there'll always be bikes that people prefer for certain things. I'm sure in motocross, I'm sure we'll see a couple of different bikes pop up in the field. But for Soupy, KTM and Husky very much seem to be preferred. Got good suspension, decent power delivery, and they just do what you ask them to, really. Jake then on the back of Dill Pickle. Oh no, on the back of Frank Leg, sorry. Trying to find a cheeky little position here, past the lap down bike. There we go. The BCP bike clearing his way out the optimal line there for the moment, just to allow the leading bike through. Always nice to see. Hakon then onto the back of Cam here in the battle for P2 on the track. Let's see if we've got something spicy going on between the Ace Moto and the MXB Mods bike. The two KTMs then begin fighting it out once again. Hakon with a lovely drive. Nearly closes his way back in onto the back of Cam there for the corner, but doesn't quite manage to take full something. You know what I mean? Words. Is there any reason you like factory bikes? Same frame, different plastics? Yeah, exactly. I like the homologated nature of those 1110 bikes. It does make for some pretty exciting racing, and obviously a much more colourful field. Cam then down the inside of Linz as he makes his way past, and Hakon trying to do the same here soon. Linz found his way up into the top 10 there. Still not managed to unlap himself just yet. We'll see if he can try and pull some extra positions out towards the end of the race here. But certainly not off to the start of the season that he hoped he was. Different strokes for different folks. It does happen, it does happen. Hakon here having a bit of an awful time there through the whoops and goes down on the last one there. An unfortunate moment then for the Ace Moto KTM. Certainly not what we want to be seeing. Looks like Cam. What happened to Tyler J? Tyler J has had a huge moment here. He's now down all the way down to P3 as a result of whatever happened to him. Hakon now in P2, going to be losing that position to both Tyler J and Nate Dad. No, Nate's let down. Ignore me. But anyways, Cam then leads the race now, just ahead of Hakon and Tyler J. Ken's on the Oblivion racing bike, trying to squeeze his way back in here. It looks like he's going to be lapped down at this point now, I believe, on the P8 bike. Some speedy stuff. Got into a lap that is super unfortunate. Definitely not what you want to be happening at this stage in the moto. Literally a minute on the clock, and the lead has changed. Coming onto this lap then, we'll see exactly how much that gap is here soon. Tyler J then holds on for that P2 spot for now. It's a 7.5 second gap though between himself and the leader, and just 40 seconds on the clock, and that crash is certainly not going to help things. Hakon then finds his way through, up and into P2 once again. Dorian Merritt here trying to unlap himself from Tyler J. Can he do so? Not quite. Tyler's going to go back on the offensive around the outside line, hard as can be. Very much in danger of washing out there on that berm, but thankfully does hold on nice and tight here with the MXB Mods KTM. Yeah, it's been an unfortunate one. I believe the fatigue has been getting to him here. Just the all-out endurance of the old 20-minute motos can be very, very tough on you sometimes. Mentally tiring. And sometimes that will just let you slip up, catch a back lap marker. It could have just been like the blue flag bike was doing something dodgy as well. But certainly always a little bit of a lapse in judgment, because obviously you can try and get past people that are trying to be dicks, you know. Anyways. He's slow, he was storming, bro. I know what you're talking about. He led, like, pretty much the entire moto. Pretty much the entire moto. Just a couple of laps remaining, though, here, as Dorian tries to find his way back past. Doesn't look like it's going to happen just yet, though. Let's see if we can pull something out of the bag here. Cam trying to make his way past a couple of more lap-down bikes. Aiden again all sorts of sideways just in front of Cam. Thankfully he makes his way wide and outside. Gonna allow the racing leader to pass without too much worries, I think, here. Lets off a little bit over that double and settles in for the position behind, which is always nice to see. Happy days, happy days. So, let's have a little peeky-boo, peeky-boo. Looks like Hakon there is still holding on for that P2 spot for now. Tyler J closing in, though, and could be contending for the second place on the podium here pretty shortly. If Hakon continues to make mistakes like that, it's going to be very, very easy for Tyler here. Down the central line, grabbing the same rut here as the Ace Moto bike. Going to be looking to stay nice and tight here through this next section. We saw Tyler J pass another bike coming through that particular section on the earlier in the race. So we'll see if he can try and replicate that a little bit later on here. For now, though, it's the MXB Mods bike versus the Ace Moto KTM. And the outside for Tyler J, the inside for Hakon. We know Hakon can get a fantastic drive if he does so, but what? He's done a backflip through the whoops, and that is not the opportune moment for that kind of maneuver. Dorian, unfortunately, does collect Hakon a little bit again, and he goes down once again. But first, Cam comes across the line here for the P1 spot. We've got Tyler J for P2, Hakon coming across the line for P3 then in the 450 main event. JB for P4. We've got Steiner coming across in P5, I believe, just ahead of Nate Dad. Jake, though, will be taking the P6 position here soon on the Field Racing KTM, having a very, very nice race for himself. In fact, Dill Pickle took the P6 spot temporarily there, but Jake has displaced him back down into P7 as the Fields bike takes the P6 spot due to penalties. Aiden then in P8, Linz for P9, Dorian Merritt for P10, and Ken's the Heat 1 winner all the way down in the P11 spot. Certainly not where I expected him. I kind of expected him up in that top 5. So